Ladies and gentlemen, Rhiow.
I can see your eyes staring into mine, but it's a battlefield and you're on the other side. You can throw your words sharper than a knife and leave me cold in another house on fire. I lay low, and watch the bridges burn. I lay low. What more could I have done? Now you only bring me black roses, and they crumble in the dust when they're held. Now you only bring me black roses under your spell. She told me twice all her good advice, but I couldn't see. I was clouded by your lies. Up in smoke, a vision she foretold. She said stay away, 'cause that girl's a warning sign. I lay low, and watch the bridges burn. Now you only bring me black roses, and they crumble in the dust when they're held. Now you only bring me black roses under your spell. And I'm done trying to be the one, picking up the broken pieces. And I'm done trying to be the one who says I love you, dear. But I'm leaving. Now you only bring me black roses, and they crumble in the dust when they're held. Now you only bring me black roses, but I'm not under your spell. 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 Oh, 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 oh.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Music Community Podcast. This is Doc Bizzle here welcoming you with our special guest, Rhiow2. You just heard his wonderful music that we were able to share with you. And of course, as always, I have with me my incredible co-host, Dan Drumstone and Random Girl Singing.
Hello.
Well, we're excited to have Rhiow2 with us here on the podcast today. Is it okay if I call you by your first name, or do you prefer Rhiow?
Rhiow or Richard. Rhiow2 is weird, but Rhiow and Richard are both totally fine.
So Rhiow or Richard, because I when I'm looking at the screen, I see Richard on the screen.
Exactly.
So I keep wanting to say Richard, but I didn't want to give out any special details if we didn't need to.
No, everyone knows my name. And I answered it either. It's totally
Is
fine.
Rhiow2 like the evil Rhiow?
No, Rhiow's the evil Rhiow for taking the name.
Yeah, who's out there?
Not releasing it.
Well, man, welcome to the podcast. We've really been looking forward to being able to talk to you today, Rhiow. All of us are familiar with you in different ways. I think the first time I heard about you was because of the RioMusicBot and things that we want to ask you about here in the podcast today too. But it's just so good to have you here, man. Thanks so much. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I did, and thanks for having me. This has been really cool. I listened to the first 2 episodes and really enjoy it. You guys are doing something really cool here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, did you guys have a good Thanksgiving for the most part? I'm still turkey hungover.
We didn't do turkey.
We didn't have any in-laws casualties, so we're good.
No, we did chicken. None of us even like turkey. And I didn't even marinate it myself. I went to Wegmans and I got a pre-marinated Wegmans chicken.
Nice.
It was the best turkey I've ever had.
I was telling Doc, I'm like the dad from A Christmas Story. I am a turkey fiend. I love turkey. But Rhiow, tell us your story. Tell us the beginnings of you on Twitch.
No, wait.
Discovered.
Doc,
okay, what?
Doc got to tell how he first met Rhiow. Can I tell how I first met Rhiow?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go for it.
When I first started streaming almost 2 years ago, I remember I wasn't familiar with too many music streamers. In fact, I had stumbled upon a couple streams, and I was in their chat, and I asked them, who else does, what we do? Who else here does music? And the next thing you know, I get a message from Rhiow. And he had seen my chat, and he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know." And he gave me this whole long list of musicians that he was already working with and modding for. And that's how I knew him. I knew him as already an established person in the music community who knew who was who and was helping connect musicians with each other.
Yeah, when did you discover Twitch?
Well, so I discovered Twitch. I think my account is like 2013 or 2014 or so, maybe even older.
Oh, wow.
I discovered Twitch because I was addicted to League of Legends.
Gotcha.
And I found that you could learn how to get better by watching people play League on Twitch, like the professionals were playing on Twitch. And that's the first I'd ever heard of Twitch. That's the first I'd ever heard of Reddit either. I got introduced to all kinds of new stuff.
They kind of go hand in hand.
They kind of do, yeah. But I watched League of Legends stuff for years, and that's all I did. I want to say like 3 years. All I did on Twitch was watch League. I didn't watch any other streamers. I didn't watch any other game. I didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I ended up finding music it was 2015, July 2015. And I don't know if music was still in beta. I don't think it was in beta anymore. I wasn't there quite at the very beginning. But I had decided to pick up the guitar again. And I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but I would play for a couple of months and then put it down for years. And that's kind of my history with guitar. And I decided to pick it up again, and I decided to pick it up via Rocksmith this time.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And so I bought Rocksmith and was reading the Rocksmith Reddit and learned that there were people that streamed Rocksmith on Twitch. And so I went to find them to see if I could learn anything from them. And I found Wrath TV and La French Stallion.
Of course.
As my introduction to the music scene on Twitch. And I watched nothing but Rocksmith streamers for a few days. And then I one day randomly clicked on the music game button to see what else was there, and I'm pretty sure I found Richie, and it was either Richie or LT Chicken, because I followed both of them on the same day. So I found Richie, and it was like, oh no, this is much more, this is what I like a lot more.
Yeah.
Why did I buy Rocksmith? Why was I watching those guys? And I like Wrath, and I like the Rocksmith guys. But the music that typically gets played in those streams isn't my type of music. Mm-hmm. What Ali plays and what Ryan plays and what you guys play
You like more of the coffee house kind of chill vibe?
Yeah, the chill stuff. Yeah, most of the time. And so at the second I found Ali and LT Chicken and Ryan, that was it. That's what I watched from then on.
Yeah, nice. For those of you who don't know what Rocksmith is, it is actually a game that's a learning tool for people who are trying to learn guitar or bass. The screen sort of looks like a little bit like Rock Band did, kind of, it's set up. But yeah, it is a really cool learning tool. My husband recently picked it up, and within one session, he was already doing a few chords and doing some scales. So that is a really cool way that music is incorporated into gaming and onto Twitch.
It's like a professional Guitar Hero kind of.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you're playing a real guitar.
Yeah, and Le French Stallion, I think he learned music on Rocksmith.
Yep, entirely.
That's amazing.
And he is really, really good. The guy's insane.
Yeah, but yeah, I was never meant to be a lead guitarist, and the rhythm stuff on Rocksmith wasn't as entertaining to me. So, as soon as I found Ali and Ryan, I kind of dropped the electric guitar that I bought for Rocksmith and picked up an acoustic electric and went back to what I knew and what I liked the most.
Oh wow,
that's awesome. So you said you had played some, and then you would take breaks and stuff like that. How long have you been playing? Like, how long ago did you first really get interested in wanting to play music?
Well, I played. My mom has a degree from the North Carolina School of the Arts in some sort of music. I honestly don't remember what. But she played piano for our church when I was growing up, and she eventually had to stop doing that and sang in the choir instead. So we had a keyboard in the house. So music was always around. And so, like, in elementary school, I took, I don't even remember what the courses were, but I played the viola in third grade.
Wow.
And I played it from like third to eighth grade, and I wasn't very good at it. I always preferred to play basketball, and I never practiced, but I played it, and I got an introduction to music through it. And in middle school was in orchestra and got to go on a couple of trips from orchestra competitions. I was the last chair viola. I was sixth chair. There were six of us, and me and the fifth chair guy. We didn't care about any of it. But
you got the day off of school, right?
Yeah, we sat there and played. I was interested but not dedicated, I guess. Yeah. I was really dedicated to basketball. I was on the basketball team. I quit orchestra because I made the basketball team in middle school.
Can you dunk?
So that was all. No, I'm 6'4", but I could never quite get up there.
When did you start singing, Rhiow?
Last year.
Oh, so even with all that choir and singing in your house, did you ever sing in the car or anything like that before?
Oh yeah, no, I sing in the car, and I'd sing in the shower, and I'd sing whenever no one else was around. But I honestly thought I was tone deaf. Like, I honestly thought I couldn't sing a lick. Yeah, it wasn't until, I want to say it's been about a year and a half. It was like June of last year. I was building my streaming community through video games. My audience was almost entirely music viewers that liked hanging out and chilling while I played Ori and the Blind Forest. Or at first I was playing League of Legends. And I had my bot set up so that people could bet on whether I would win or lose my next game, and people got into that. But I would try really hard just not to get mad and not to ever get upset, not to ever raise my voice. And, people like my speaking voice. And so that's where I built up a few viewers. But at some point I bought like a nicer mic, an AT2020, a USB mic, for that instead of using a headset mic. And I had picked up the guitar again at that point and recorded myself singing something just out of curiosity, and was like, oh, well, it's not good. It's definitely not good. But I don't think it's terrible. And I eventually let one of my mods listen to it, and they were very encouraging. And eventually let Ali listen to something, and she was very encouraging and gave me some pointers, and eventually let more and more people hear me sing. And everyone that heard was like, yeah, you should work on this. Okay. I mean, I was already working very hard on the guitar at that point.
Would you say you were inspired by all the music streams that you kind of were watching?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the guitar. I first picked up a guitar in college, like a roommate. My freshman year in college, my roommate, one of my roommates was a really good guitar player. And he taught me a few chords, and I learned a few, 3-chord songs or whatever. But then I got a new roommate the next semester and next quarter, actually. And the new roommate didn't have a guitar, so I didn't play a guitar again for like 4 more years. And that kind of happened for a little while. One of my roommates, my third year in college, had a guitar, and I would play his guitar. And then the next time I moved, there wasn't one. And I never thought to buy one myself. But, I'd play for a few months, and then I'd put it down. And eventually, once I was out on my own and could afford to, I'd buy a guitar, like a cheap, $100, $200 starter guitar of some sort, and play for a few months. But then again, some gaming addiction would come along, and I put it down. And so I never got past the point of where I'm like, well, I can play Wonderwall. I can play Wonderwall, and I can play some Poison. I can play Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and I can play some Hootie and the Blowsmith. That was back in the mid '90s.
Blowsmith,
Blowfish. Hootie and the Blowfish. I can't play any of their songs anymore because I don't remember who they are apparently. Hootie and the Blowfish. Yeah, I could play. All their songs are like 4-chord songs. Some U2. Most of U2 songs are 3 or 4 chords.
But you started streaming games before you started streaming music, and that was only just like a year and a half ago. After a few years of being on Twitch?
I had a gaming group, and we would sit in Mumble, which is another voice chat program, and we would sit and watch other streamers, or we would maybe play some League together. But a couple of my friends really enjoyed watching the game more than they enjoyed playing it, and so I would play, and I would stream it, but I wouldn't even look at my chat. I was just talking to my friends that were watching me play. And every once in a while, someone would come in and say, hey, what are you doing? And I'd notice an hour later that somebody had tried to chat with me. So I had, I was sort of streaming, but it was really just so that my friends could watch me and give me crap or give me advice or whatever. Yeah. I did that for like 2 years.
So what was the motivation to actually make your own community?
It was from the music community. It was from watching... It was from becoming friends with other viewers, and having. I was still streaming League, but just for my buddies at the time, and I had made friends with other mods and other viewers, and occasionally other streamers, and every once in a while, one of them would trickle in and be like, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you," and so I started looking at my chat a little more, and I just became curious to see, could I grow a small viewer base doing what I was already doing anyway, if I just interacted a little more.
Do you remember your first music stream that you ever did?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
I will never forget my first music stream. I don't know if I'll ever be able to top my first music stream. Holy crap.
Tell us about it.
I'd been promising to do a music stream for over like 6 or 7 months. And I was talking about it. I'd be playing my video games and talking about how I'm eventually going to do a music stream, guys. I want to say like in January of this year, January 2017, after I moved, I had enough songs prepared to where I felt I could stream music. But I'm very, very self-conscious. Not about how I sound, but about how I look. I was terrified to put myself on camera.
Had anyone they've never seen you throughout all that other streaming? You just used a microphone?
Yeah, never used a camera.
Wow.
Didn't even own one. Yeah, didn't own one. I mean, people had seen pictures of me. I would post the occasional picture in my Discord or somewhere just so I wasn't a complete stranger. But I was still am. I'm extremely self-conscious about how I look. And so I just could not get up the courage to get the webcam and to go ahead and go through with it. And I don't know what changed. I think what changed is that I felt that I'd been promising this for almost a year. And I was like, okay, I've got to do this. And the musician Discord, the Twitch Music Discord, it started, and I got invited to that, even though I wasn't streaming music yet. And Leland invited me to it, and he wasn't supposed to.
Busted,
Leland.
And so I talked to Allie about it. I was like, I'm not streaming music yet. If you want me to drop out of here, I will. And once I start streaming, then invite me back, because the music Discord at the time was really only intended for music streamers.
Mm-hmm.
And Allie had heard me sing in Discord. I'd done some Discord voice stuff to get some opinions from people. And so she replied and said, no, I know you're going to. I know you're working towards it, so you can stay. And then I got made a mod in the music Discord. I was like, all right, well.
You're here to
I'm
stay
the only
now.
person in here. Yeah, I'm the only person in here that has never streamed music. And I'm moderating. I'm one of the mods in the freaking Discord. So
Speaking of that,
I guess I better.
Do you know how many channels that you are a moderator for? And do you know how many musicians that you moderate for?
It's around 50, but I don't know for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Do you guys ever compare numbers?
I mean, I know that Tango mods for way more than I do, sure. And I don't know, me and Leland probably are around the same. I don't know if there's other people that have popped up, like Teach Me How to Poop, who's newer to the community than a lot of us, but he immediately fell in love with the music scene the same way I did a couple of years ago. And so I know he mods for a lot of people now, a lot of the newer streamers.
We should have a competition like America's Top Model, but like
America's Top Mod.
Top Mod.
No, I don't. No, that's okay.
No, but what you guys do is really important, and it's really interesting how it snowballs. New musicians pop up, and they already see and become familiar with you in other channels. So, do you kind of get inducted into these channels where you hardly know people and they just mod you? Yeah.
Yes, there's one channel, and I don't want to say who, but there's one channel that I joined in a raid once, and I was a mod there. And I had no idea. I don't know why. Or there was no conversation. There was no. I don't know if I'd ever been in the channel before. But I was a mod there, and I was like, oh, okay.
Like when I was discovering all these channels on Twitch, I didn't know who you were, but whenever you would hop in the channel and type, it was an immediate hey, and the streamer saying hi. So I'm like, okay, this guy is he's everywhere. He seems like a good guy. So
is he a bot?
You're just trustable. Yeah. I didn't know who you were, but I knew your name, and I knew that it always made people smile, like in streams that I was in. So.
Well, it's really important to me that everybody knows all the music streamers. And used to, I watched all the music streamers, or at least all of the guitarists, and tried to watch the piano players a fair bit. And apologies to the drummer.
I wouldn't watch those drummers. It's just a racket.
But I always tried to know who everyone was, and for a while I did know everyone's song lists. Even I knew what everyone played. I knew anything that happened, and in part that was because I wasn't working as much. I had a lot more free time, but also there were a lot less streamers. And so it was not an unreasonable thing to be able to spend a little time in every single stream. That's definitely changed, but I at least try to pay attention in the music Discord to everyone that comes in and introduces themselves, and to try to make sure that, and it's not just me. I know everyone does this, or almost everyone in the music community has the same attitude, but to try to be welcoming of newer streamers and to make everyone feel like they belong. Mm-hmm. And then that's the great thing about the music community is I think everyone has attitude.
Yeah, Rhiow, when you first, I forget who or how, or actually it was Cairo Nightbow who sent me the invitation to the music Discord. I didn't even know it existed. Mm-hmm. And when I first showed up in the music Discord, I think you were one of the first people to be like a welcoming committee. You're like, Doc, I've seen you in people's chats, but I had no idea that you were a music streamer. And it felt like getting a golden ticket to have somebody actually reach out and say, I'm glad you're here. Hey, everybody, make sure to go check out Doc. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Because as a new streamer, you don't know how to make that happen for yourself. So thank you for being that guy.
Right. Well, Doc was really, you were really quiet. I remember that specifically. because you were hanging out in streams all the time.
Yeah.
But your name didn't really specifically mention music, so nobody would think to ask, "Hey, do you stream?" Yeah. And you never worked it into the conversation at all. I think I had seen you around for weeks before I had any idea you streamed, and you got invited to the music Discord, and I remember in Fern's channel, Resurrection Fern's channel, her being like, "Wait, you stream? We've been chatting for weeks now. What? You never told me you stream?" So yeah.
I didn't know how everybody had that rule, like no self-promotion. I was like, well, I don't want to get banned. I like hanging out here. So.
Yeah.
That's a classy move though, Doc. Very classy.
Classy guy.
Oh, cool.
Thanks.
Sure. So yeah, thank you, Rhiow. I just want to make sure you know, man, you're one of for me, you're a highlight of my journey on Twitch because of how supportive you've been and how welcoming you are, man. I appreciate that.
Well, I thank you. I don't take compliments well. I don't know what to say.
Well, listen, you were talking about being on camera and being a little nervous, being self-conscious about appearance and stuff like that. I gotta say, appearance related, I think one of the first things a whole lot of people notice when they come to your channel is definitely the epic man beard that you sport. And it's the kind of beard, if you have not seen Rhiow when he's streaming, he's got the kind of beard that all the ladies swoon for and makes all the men jealous. Like, dude. So inquiring minds not just need, we have to know. What's your regimen, man? Like what's your care package that you go through to keep such a well-groomed, massively epic beard?
There's not a whole lot to it. There's some beard conditioner that you use when you take a shower, and I don't have a whole lot of hair up top, so the beard conditioner is kind of my thing. Yeah, but yeah,
no horse and mane or whatever they call it. Horse mane
I
and
don't
tail
even remember
stuff.
what brand I use. I'm not that into it.
Well, that Amazon Gear panel,
Right? Yeah. Oh, I need to put that on there.
Yes.
One other beard question.
Yeah.
What is the longest number of days that you've gone with that you then discovered some sort of piece of food and you're like, oh my gosh, that was from lunch 3 days ago?
No, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. There are definitely in the summer, there's an ice cream place really close to here, and I like waffle cones, and that just makes a huge mess. But so yeah, I've definitely had to take a shower after having some ice cream once or twice. That's kind of embarrassing.
Okay,
nope.
So we've talked about games, we've talked about beards. Can we please talk about the bot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when did the infamous RioMusicBot come to be? And for those of you who might not be aware, RioMusicBot is a software bot that Rhiow developed, and it is basically a really excellent tool for folks to take song requests through chat commands, and also to link people into social media and share their song list.
Allie and Ryan had a bot already. And it was called Rhiow2. Yeah, that's how I'm going to try to pronounce it. there was a one of their mods. His name was Orbitus, and you still see him around on occasion. Had written a bot that worked for their needs at the time, but Orbit they had new things they wanted, and Orbit was going into the Air Force. So he didn't have time to work on the bot anymore. And I think at the time, his bot was used by Ali, Richie, LT Chicken, and Do a Barrel Roll. And that was it. And there weren't many more streamers than that anyway. But I was spending all of my free time in their streams, in Ali and Ryan's streams. And I had a lot of extra free time because I wasn't working quite as much back then. And so I was looking for a personal programming project. And they would mention with some frequency, oh, yeah, I wish the bot did this. I wish the bot did that. The main thing that Orbit's bot didn't do was the song queue. You couldn't see what the list was. You could request songs, but then there was no way to display the list of songs that had been requested. And Ryan at the time Ryan would start his stream, LT Chicken would start his stream, and 30 people would request songs. And so you didn't know if your song was going to be played in 10 minutes or 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so what they really, really wanted was this song queue where the idea that there would be a website where you could see the list of songs that had been requested. And Orbit didn't have time to try to improve his bot, and I was looking for a programming project, so I reached out to Ali and Ryan and was like, "Hey, you want me to write something for you? I'm kind of looking for something to do." And they both said sure. They knew me as a viewer who occasionally requested songs. I wasn't a mod in any of their channels. Neither of them had sub buttons, so I wasn't subscribing. I would occasionally donate for a priority request. That's the extent to which either of them knew me at the time, other than just being a regular viewer. I remember getting in some voice chat with Ali and Ryan, and Ryan outlining all the things that he thought would be cool for a bot to be able to do on top of what they already had. And I took a bunch of notes, and like 6 weeks later came back to him, was like, "Here's a program. Do you want to use it?"
That's really cool, man. That's generous of you too, man. It helps so many people.
I mean, at the time, I thought of it as a bot for the two of them. And that's still, it's not problematic. But every once in a while, someone will ask, "Why does it work this way?" I'm like, "Because that's what the bot I replaced did." Why do you have to type out ! song request? Because for a long time, I eventually shortened it to where you could just type out SR. But for a long time, that wasn't there. You had to type the whole word. Like, well, why is it like that? Because I wasn't thinking, and the bot that I replaced did it that way. So that's just what it is.
So how many users are there now for the RioMusicBot?
Well, I've set it up for about 90 people, but I don't know how many actively use it.
Wow.
That's
a lot of people.
I don't know how many of them have dropped it, because I haven't been the best in the world about updating it. So, now that there are other options out there, and the other options are good, I totally understand if anybody's like, "Well, Rhiow doesn't support this thing very much anymore," and I'm actually working on some fixes, but yeah, so I totally get anyone that's switched off. But yeah, I think I've set it up for about 90 people overall, and I know a bunch still do use it.
It might be a weird question, but the whole idea of bots is something I discovered on Twitch. But like, how difficult is it to like start from scratch on a bot for what you did with for Ali and Lieutenant Chicken?
It's not that difficult. There's tutorials out there that get you to the point where you can put a bot in chat, and then you just have an empty space in your code to say, "Well, now start listening for specific commands and start doing something with them." So you can, in very short order, if you know anything about any programming language at all. If you have no experience, that's probably pretty tough, because then you're looking at a programming language that means nothing to you.
Yeah.
But if you have any experience at all, you can find in for almost any programming language, like just how to get a bot connected to chat. You can find that and just copy and paste it.
Gotcha. And is Twitch
that's very, very simple.
Pretty open about that kind of stuff, like the coding and...
Yeah.
Nice.
Twitch chat is just IRC. So if you've ever been in IRC channels, Twitch chat is pretty much an IRC channel. There's like every streamer has their own little IRC channel basically on Twitch's server. It's not exactly the same, but it's very close.
Yeah. Are there things like you can't do? I'm trying to word the question that they would be like, you can't do that.
I mean, they have limits on how much you can spam their APIs. If you're doing like something like Nightbot has a very complicated setup so that it can exist in all these channels, thousands of channels at once, and be chatting in thousands of channels at once. If I tried to do something like that without getting a really complicated setup, I would just the bot would just immediately get shut down for spamming the heck out of Twitch. Gotcha. So yeah, they have limits on that. Bots can get global the same way that anybody else can, so you have to be careful about having the bot chat too much or be able to chat too much. And my bot runs on the streamers' PCs, and so I was always worried about that. Like, I was terrified that some jerk would come in and try to mess with the bot and get Ryan or Ali globaled during midstream.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if that knocked a stream offline or not. I didn't know what that did, but I was really worried about stuff like that happening. So yeah, there's definitely limits to what you're allowed to do.
Right on.
But there's Twitch. There's a Twitch developer forum where you can look up a lot of stuff. And yeah, connecting to chat's pretty easy if you know some basics. Connecting to the API is pretty easy if you know some basics. They use standards that are used all over the place to connect to other things on the internet, basically.
Yeah.
So it's if you have a little bit of a background, it's really not that tough.
Well, enough about this stuff. I still want to hear more about. I still want you to tell us more about your first stream, because I remember your first stream, and I remember what it felt like for me, having known you as long as I did and seen you, moderate and support and build up other people, that this was finally happening. I just remember that the constant everybody hosting, before you even started playing any music, you had,
nice.
I don't remember how many viewers, but I just remember so much hype. I'd never seen so many music streamers in one spot before, so many check marks in one spot before. And then to hear you sing was incredible. So what did it feel like being on the other side?
It was ridiculous. I missed all the chat. I missed everything that everyone said the whole time. I might have caught 1 out of 100 things that people said to me. I missed donations. There was no affiliate yet, so I didn't miss any bits. But I missed donations. I missed all kinds of stuff. I had said leading up to the stream, like I bought. I didn't want to sound arrogant, but I kind of had a feeling, it wasn't going to be like a stream where I could have no music gear and just fiddle around and figure stuff out and nobody would be there. I had a feeling that, that there'd be some streamers there. I didn't have any idea that it'd be what it turned into.
What did your viewership spike at that night? Do you remember?
Over 200 people, I think.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure it was over 200 people.
Dude.
I saw it build up past 100 very, very quickly.
Very quickly. 88-bit Music rated me.
Oh my goodness.
And he had 100 plus, and he rated me pretty early on in the stream. I don't remember everyone else that rated or hosted or chatted. I mean, I remember a lot of people. I remember Steph being there. I remember Steph being really excited and supportive. I remember Ali throwing a ton of money at me.
Yeah, of course.
And Ali was super, super excited and super supportive, and Chase. And Resurrection Fur, and people that had known that this was a thing that was going to be coming and had been very supportive of me practicing and learning and getting better and things like that. So I remember a lot of specifics, but no, it was crazy.
Did all of that hype help, or did it almost work in the opposite effect, like with your nerves?
I think it helped.
That's good.
I think it helped because you certainly have a fear. I mean, people had heard me sing on Discord in Discord voice. People had heard me. I'd sent out some recordings to 10, 15 people, and gotten honest opinions on them. I was pretty sure, but still, it's impossible to not have some self-conscious thing. Like, what if you start singing and everyone's like, "Oh, bye," Well, maybe I'll come back later when you get good or whatever. That thought is always, that thought was in the back of my mind. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm ready for this, but I also know I'm not. I hadn't been working on this long. A lot of you guys that are doing this have been doing it since you were in high school or whatever, or younger, and I've been working on it for like a year, so
at least
I didn't
you had
know
a
what
song
to expect.
list.
Yeah,
I had a
At
song
least you
list.
had a song list, man. My first few streams, like I could only stream for 14 minutes because I only knew 3 songs. I was like, I could play Mad World for you again.
Right.
Speaking of that, Rhiow, you've been in all of these chats, all of these streams for so long. What are Rhiow's top 5? Could we never play these ever again on Twitch, please? Songs
Hallelujah,
that you can.
Mad World.
The Hallelujah hate.
You didn't even need to finish the whole question. Hallelujah and Mad World.
And Mad World.
Yeah.
They just don't have the same. Did you ever like those songs?
I love Hallelujah. It's a beautiful song. We sang it the 4-person stream that we did with Matt and Corey, 2 Guys, 1 Couch, and Deck the Halls. We did a 4-person stream at my house when those guys came down, and we sang Hallelujah, and it was great. I loved it. But it's not on my song list. I can play it, but it's not on my song list. It never will be. And Mad World as well. Those are the 2 big ones.
What are some songs you haven't heard somebody do yet that you're hoping you just want one of these music streamers? I wish they'd learn this song and sing it.
Well, there can always be more Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
More classic stuff. Like Chase has some of it. Chase plays a few Simon and Garfunkel songs. He plays some James Taylor. He plays a couple of Jim Croce songs. Spence Elliott.
Oh yeah.
I
that
love that dude.
Cool.
That dude's song list, man. He plays like 4 songs by Bread from the 70s. Oh, he's got that's not, I don't gravitate just towards that, but I have a special place in my heart for the late 60s and early 70s singer-songwriters, folksy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm working
so you
on
heard it, ladies. If you want the beard to show up in your chat, you want the bearded wonder there, pull you out some classic 70s tunes.
I love it.
I don't know, is there any specific song? I don't know if there's any specific song that's like, I wish somebody did this.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Gotcha.
I have a question about songwriting. After TwitchCon, we were talking in the Discord. We were talking about how all these jams were going on all around 88's house. And you had mentioned that you guys were jamming and just throwing around song ideas. And I wanted to ask you about songwriting and Twitch. When did you get into songwriting?
Oh, no, I'm not. I've never written.
Oh, I thought you had.
I've never written. So I didn't show up on stream at 88-Bit Music's house. There was the stream room.
Yeah.
I didn't show up on that stream until we did Fix You. That room was intimidating. But also I had other things I wanted to do that night. Maddie Dresdy and I had talked in Discord before TwitchCon and had been like, hey, we should, if we can find the time to do it, we should play Such Great Heights together. Mm-hmm. It's a song that I play. It's a song that I requested in her stream, every single stream for like a year. And so we wanted to play that song together. And there were other people that were like, it'd be cool to be able to play something with this person or whatever. And so when I got to 88-Bit's house, Maddie Dresdy came in very shortly after me, and I flagged her down like right away. The second she walked in the door, hey, let's find a guitar and go do this thing. And we ended up taking over 88-Bit's bedroom, where people were leaving their guitars and all their stuff. And Doc.
I know, I wasn't laughing because of that. I promise.
Good. Well, good. Very good. It's hard not to think that, I know. No, we ended up taking over his bedroom and turning it into the chill room. We got Mike TV Live loaned us or let us play his guitar, and Maddie and I played Such Great Heights together, and Mike recorded it on my phone for me. And then Sienna Millie was in there. She and I sang a song together, and then Maddie and Millie sang a song together, and we just recorded all this on our phones. But eventually what happened is I asked Maddie Dresdy if she would play 230, one of her originals. Mm-hmm. And she and I sang that together. And once that happened, the rest of the night turned into originals night, because Mike TV, everything Mike plays on his stream is stuff that he wrote. He doesn't do any covers. Mm-hmm. And he's incredibly supportive of and encouraging about, hey, everyone should write. Everyone should write. What if Twitch became this place where everyone was writing all the time, and we had these giant albums of Twitch original compilations and all this stuff? So he heard Maddie's 230, Dresdy's original 230, and he was like, I love that song. You need to write more. And soon after that, I don't remember who came in next. I think it was Sloth Time Lord, now Gray Sky Symphony. And one of my favorite originals of his is History. And I was like, hey, can I sing History with you? And he played it, and the two of us sang it together. And then Brad, Do a Barrel Roll, wandered in and like, hey, that song Night that you sing,
oh, yeah,
I cover Night on my stream.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I play that on my stream. And I asked him, could I sing that with him? And for me, the night turned into, let me track down my favorites, the ones where I know all the words to some of their originals, and let me see what I can collect. But for everyone else, for the pros that were there, it turned into this like everyone was just sharing their original music. And Mike and Boone, they did their panel on original music on Twitch. And so they were just there kind of encouraging everyone, and they were just kind of passing the guitar around and everyone playing originals. And it was just awesome.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I've said this on the podcast before, but that night I remember peeking my head in and I saw all you guys in there. I think Chase was in there too. And I was like, I want to stay for this.
Right.
But you have to get back to the soundboard.
Like, this looks so fun in here. But
so what's kept you from writing, or do you just not have an interest to write?
I mean, in school, creative writing was just like a thing to give me an anxiety attack. Yeah. I'm the guy that got double on my math scores compared to my verbal scores on the SATs or whatever. I went to Georgia Tech, where you had to take one English class, but you didn't really have to do anything in it, and then you could go do your engineering, and you were fine. So that's my background with anything that I consider creative. I just feel like I have this. I just get stressed immediately thinking, open-ended, free-form anything. It's like, no, I don't have ideas. I just freeze. And so I don't think of it as something that I could do. But I've learned over the last few years that there's tons of things that I thought I couldn't do that I actually can if I just kind of open up a little and try. Yeah. And so Mike TV was really, really encouraging about saying, hey, there's no reason you shouldn't be writing too. You're learning to sing. You're learning the guitar. Mm-hmm. You should spend an hour a week learning songwriting too. Well, that's scary as all hell, but you make a good point. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to. Well,
you heard
something.
It here, folks. Some Rhiow originals coming at you soon.
Yep. Next year for your anniversary podcast appearance, we expect to hear an original on stream, bro.
Now,
okay.
I find this really interesting because when I was learning my instrument, like I listened to, albums and, watched people on TV and stuff like that. As you're learning now, how much does Twitch affect that? Like when you watch streamers and how they perform, you're kind of absorbing that from a learning perspective.
Mm-hmm.
How has that affected you as a player?
It's impossible to not copy things here and there. I don't want to copy a lot.
Yeah.
I want to figure stuff out on my own. I don't want to just be like, well, here's a song that Chase does, and I'm going to do it just like Chase, but probably not as well. But that's happened a couple of times. There's a couple of songs here and there where what I do is pretty much what I saw another streamer do, and I just fell in love with the way they do it.
Yeah.
Including one of Steph's songs, Blink-182's "I Miss You." I pretty much do that in a very similar way, and I've worked very hard to add a couple of little things that are different because I don't want to just be a copy. And the first few times I played, I was like, I made sure to mention Steph. I'm like, yeah, follow Random Girl Singing because she does this a lot better than this.
Oh, stop. That's very kind of you, though, because it's hard to do that and not put your own flair on it, especially when your inspiration for doing something is hearing somebody else do it. And yeah. I feel like those of us who have dabbled with covers and do covers have probably all gone through that a little bit.
Yeah. And I guess it's a creative skill too. As I get better at the guitar, I have more ideas on my own for how to cover something. And I can take some, like the reason I cover Brad's Do It Barren Rolls Night is because I found a different way to play it. Like, oh, okay. Not only is this an original, there's tons of originals on Twitch that I love.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just play them the exact same way the streamer does. I want to be able to come up with something on my own, and then go ask him, hey, can I do this? But Night by Brad, by Do It Barren Roll, I found a fingerstyle way that was a little bit different than what he does, and was like, I really like this. And I asked him, hey, can I cover this on my stream? And he said yes. But a lot of the covers that I learned, since all I do right now is covers, a lot of the covers I learn, I'm just like copying from 2 or 3 places and kind of meshing something together. But every once in a while, I'll hear something and say, hey, I have an idea.
Yeah.
And that's, that's kind of where my creativity is taking me at this point, because it's all so new to me.
Yeah.
That for so long, all I would do is like, hey, can I play this song the way that guy plays it? And if I can do that, I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
But so I'm starting to very slowly branch out a little and say, hey, can I take that song that I like and do something with it myself? So I'm kind of getting there. And
it's really empowering to be able to do that, and
it's hard.
it is hard. And actually, now that I'm actually reducing from my song list, I'm actually, everybody kind of adds to their song list. I actually am taking away from my song list things that I'm finding that aren't very inspired, or things that where I've put myself in a corner, just like you talk about, where I can only hear it one way and it's not the way I did it. And that's also why when people request certain off the wall stuff, I can't help but do it. But I think that you raise a really, really good point about maybe even just closing your ears to other stuff, or trying things that you haven't heard other people do before, or approaching something with fresh ears, or some sort of objective artistic sense, because then we really get to hear your voice and your interpretation. But it's not something that's very easy to do, I think. But when you do, I feel like it's very empowering. You are an artist, even though you're reinterpreting somebody else's creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's super impressive for how long you've been singing, to be able to do, like you said, okay, I'm going to put my own twist on it. Some people, that takes a long time to be able to do. It's very impressive.
Well, thank you, but it's still very difficult, and it still only happens 1 out of every 5 or 6 songs that I add to my list. A lot of times I'll add something and be like, oh, I'm good enough to do this now. Nice. The last 5 or 6 songs I've added are songs like I couldn't have played a month ago, 2 months ago on the guitar. I'm just working at it hard enough, and I'm kind of reaching a point where I'm starting to get better. And so now I can play some more Simon & Garfunkel songs that I couldn't play before. I always go back to them. I want to learn every Simon & Garfunkel song.
That's awesome,
that they recorded. And they're not easy. Paul Simon's a really good writer and a really good guitarist, and there's a lot of their songs I just can't even touch yet. And so I'm getting to where I can add some. But a lot of times I'm just playing them the way I saw somebody else online in a tutorial play them.
Yeah.
And maybe other people haven't seen that tutorial, so they don't know. But that's all I'm doing. Or maybe I'll pick out a couple of notes here, and they say, well, that doesn't fit exactly right to me. I think I can fix that. But it's still a very, very new thing to me.
Yeah.
Well,
but you can't. Sorry, go ahead, Doc.
It's okay. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but you can't sing the way that they sing. So can we talk a little bit about how you've developed your voice? I know that Resurrection Fern, another Twitch streamer who you moderate for, she gave you a few voice lessons at first, and then you mentioned right before we started recording that you've been taking voice lessons. How has your vocal training, and how has your path as sort of a cover artist lately shaped your voice?
That's really hard to answer. So I got 1 voice lesson from Fern. We did 1, but it was immensely helpful because it was the first I'd ever had. I'd never taken anything before. I hadn't even looked up stuff on YouTube to try to teach myself yet. So I got 1 voice lesson from Fern, but it was right around the time where she decided she could do Twitch full time. And so 3 or 4 days after we did my first lesson, she's like, I'm dropping all my students. I hope that's okay. Because she wanted to dedicate all her time to Twitch at that point. But that 1 lesson was immensely helpful to me because I still didn't know if I could learn to sing. And one of the first things she told me is, if you're not tone deaf, and you're not, then you can learn to sing. Anybody can learn. You just have to take time and be willing to try. But yeah, so I still lived in North Carolina at the time. I moved from North Carolina to Indiana in January. And so I found a local voice teacher in my hometown in North Carolina and started taking lessons. Basically just very quickly found out how little I knew. I could sing along with something, and my ear is decent. My ability to find the right pitch for something, even if it's in a higher or lower, higher octave, most likely. Even if it's in a higher octave, I can tend to find the right notes to sing. But there's a heck of a lot more to singing than that, and I am just scratching the surface, I guess. I don't know.
What's the best advice that you think you've picked up or that you could give somebody else who might be in the spot you were at?
I think the best advice, because I hear it on Twitch all the time, and I was the same way when I first recorded something. So many people come into streams and say, I wish I could do what you do, but I can't sing at all. And if you're honestly saying that, if you're just saying that to pay a compliment, sure, that's nice. But if you're honestly saying that, I really wish I could sing, I really wish I could do that, you probably can. Just like, don't sell yourself short or cut yourself off before you even try.
Yeah. And
just sing a lot. And you get better. If you just do karaoke a bunch, you're going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
If you put any application into it at all to try to listen to yourself and figure out if you're on pitch or off pitch even. So I think that's the main thing, is because a year and a half ago, that's where I was. I thought I might even be tone deaf. I had just enough courage to share something with one person, and it cascaded into all of this. And now I'm a music streamer.
Now you're a music streamer, and I was just in your Thanksgiving stream, and I saw somebody say something like, where do you get this robust richness in your voice? Or somebody
I didn't have
said
an answer to that.
The beard.
Yeah, I remember
beard.
you were kind of like, it's the beard. Just say it's the beard.
Lots of biscuits.
But that's pretty great. You haven't really had a lot of practice, and you've really come a long way and grown. And I feel like streaming is a really great way to keep folks accountable to themselves, to keep practicing and growing.
Yeah.
Have you ever dabbled in live performance yet? Or
other than the gig that we did at the bar in Pasadena at TwitchCon, no. I got up on stage to sing so there was a gig in Pasadena the Saturday night at TwitchCon.
Yeah.
Mike TV Live organized it. And a few people got half-hour sets, and one of the people was Resurrection Fern. And Fern asked me to play guitar and sing a song with her, the song Resurrection Fern. And so she was going to do like 5 songs, and one of the songs she wanted to do with me, one of the songs she wanted to do with her husband. And we got together that day to practice before the gig. And she asked me to sing a couple of my own. She asked me to sing a couple of the covers that I'm the most comfortable with and that she likes the most. And I sang one, and she and her husband both said afterwards, "Hey, can you just play that at the bar tonight?" And like by yourself? I guess I can do that. So she had her little 5-song set, and she decided to give one of those songs to me for me to play one of mine to get up on stage. And and she was up there. She was right there. She was holding the phone with the lyrics and stuff, because I don't have a lot of stuff memorized yet. But so she was right there. If I'd panicked, she would have saved me, and I knew that. But yeah, so I sang a song in front of people, and it was mostly Twitch people, but it wasn't all Twitch people. There were some people there just hanging out drinking, and
yeah, it was a bar. The bar, it was normal bar patrons, and it got pretty crowded too. Yeah. And then there was our cronies kind of all up in the front near the stage.
But that's the first and only time I've sang in front of people like that.
Wow. How did it feel?
Really, really good. I mean, really intimidating. It's the first time you asked me about my mic the other day. I have a Shure SM58 now, where you have to be right on top of the mic. I was using a condenser mic before, where you just kind of, as long as you're in the same room, you can be heard. And the technical stuff around singing in front of people like that was like, I was focused on that, really have like, stay in front of the mic, don't move back and forth like I might tend to do sometimes. And so I got to focus on that stuff and not worry about anything else that was happening in the room.
You sounded good.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I was in the back of the room, man. I was like, I was listening to you. I was so stinking proud of you, dude, because I remember you talking about it beforehand, that was going to be your first kind of go at it, And man, I thought you did great, Rhiow. You nailed it, bro.
Thank you.
Well, and you
Thank
seemed so comfortable, even just back at your Airbnb. There's a bunch of musicians that did that long stream and were jamming out, and you had no qualms afterwards when everyone was just hanging out and sharing music with grabbing the guitar and sitting down and strumming and starting singing a song with people. You were just right at home. I think that's absolutely amazing.
I have to give credit to all the rest of the music community for that. Last year at TwitchCon, they were like, I was just a viewer. I wasn't a streamer yet. And so I was just watching, and it was only 5 or 6 music streamers there. This year is totally different. There's 50, 75 music streamers. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
And I definitely do view all of you guys as pros and me as somebody who's just figuring stuff out. But the music stream we did from our Airbnb, everybody made me feel like I belonged. And that meant a heck of a lot. I think I went up to everyone individually at some point during TwitchCon to thank them. But yeah, I mean, that was Ryan and Allie, who have been playing music most of their lives, and B Nasty, who's just great, and the Eaglesons, to holy God. I mean, just being in the same room with the Eaglesons when they sing is just and Floop and all these people that are partnered and that make at least a partial living on Twitch.
Yeah.
And they all made me feel like I belong there. And that's means
powerful,
the world.
Man.
That meant the world to me because I wasn't sure, And it really meant a lot. And it definitely made me more confident about continuing to work hard and to do this and that I belong in the community as a streamer.
That's really incredible, man. It's powerful the way the community does come together to encourage each other, and I've not seen anything like it, to be really honest with you. And I've been in a lot of places. Yeah. And I know there are a lot of gaming streamers as well, and that do other things that will have teams, or there will be a small handful of them, that get really close. But to see the number of people be so open the way they have to embracing new streamers, new musicians and singers, it is powerful. With you having been kind of involved for quite a while now in Twitch from so many different angles, the gaming community, as a viewer, as a mod, a bot creator, now a streamer, what would be one like really big piece of advice you would give to somebody who may be on the fence about deciding to start streaming, whether they're a gamer or a musician? What would you tell them?
I mean, just do it. just stream. If you're thinking about streaming, just hit the button and
start.
Do it. There's nothing to worry about. Like, just don't worry about whether you've got viewers right away or not. Don't worry about, and that's hard. It's really hard. But if you're doing something you enjoy doing anyway, just go do it and see who shows up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And be friendly and be whatever it is you want to be on stream, but preferably be yourself and be friendly. Interact a lot, network a lot, hang out with the people that do similar things, and try to just get your name out there. You don't have to do it by self-promotion. You just if you're a viewer in other streams, people are going to recognize your name. They know who's there all the time. And eventually they'll notice that you stream too, and they're going to be like, "Oh, hey, I know you. You're a viewer in my chat," and they're going to stop by and just start there and go from there.
That's great.
What about you guys? What would your Dan and Doc? What would your pieces of advice be?
Dan,
same thing. Yeah, I mean, I had this talk yesterday on my stream. People do focus on numbers. I hear friends of mine that do like Destiny streams and stuff, the minute they hit stop stream, the next window they open is their stats window, like what happened, what was, they want to see the numbers. And I treat it like how I treated music for the longest time. I played drums in bands forever and made like no money, and you play gigs where no one shows up, and you just do that over and over and over, and people are like, "Why are you still doing this? It's been forever." And then, you say because you love it. It's just that feeling that you get. It feels right. And then if you keep at it, eventually it turns into something. And I think if people treat streaming that same way, and if they genuinely want to do it and enjoy doing it and focus on that, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for them,
Yeah.
For sure. It is really hard not to notice numbers or not to notice how active your chat is one day compared to others. It's really, really hard. And I have every advantage because I was somebody that the community knew already. So I didn't have to go through, my first music stream was that ridiculous stream we talked about, but even my second one had, 20 people.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go through a period where I might have 0 viewers. I got very, very lucky. Yeah, but I do still occasionally have no chat or have down days or have days where the whole world is streaming. Every music stream on Twitch is streaming. And, it's still, even though I have every advantage and so lucky, it's still hard not to ride the ups and downs of every individual stream, whether it was good or not quite as good. So it's definitely tough, but it's you've got to aim for it at least.
Yeah. Definitely. And no matter how successful you get, I feel like that's always going to be there. You know what I mean? That's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah. I think what I've tried to encourage younger streamers, or not younger, but newer streamers, with is to focus on quality. If you focus on quality, quantity comes. And it's not just the quality of your camera and your lighting. It's quality all the way around. The quality of your engagement with people, the quality of your attitude, even if you're on a down day, but are you giving some quality, of who you are when you're streaming, or are you just kind of not giving a rip that anybody else might be there? Quality, focus on quality, and quantity ends up coming, I think, down the road. And as much as you can interact and give back, I posted something in one of my Discords the other day that I thought was really a cool analogy. I was going to read it real quick for you guys. Yeah. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it's just really cool. It's just a short story. It says this. There was a farmer who grew excellent quality corn. Every year he won the award for the best grown corn. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seed corn with his neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they're entering the same corn competition that you are every year? The farmer said, "Sir, don't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I want to grow good corn, I got to help my neighbors grow good corn." And that's one of the reasons I feel like the Twitch music community has become more than just Twitch. It's become successful. There are people trying to help each other grow good corn. Yeah. And when we are all doing that, the collective is so much more powerful than just one person's talent, one person's audience. It's like, nope, our whole freaking city is going to have award-winning corn because we're loving on each other.
I love that.
I like that.
Thank you for sharing that, Doc.
Sure.
I think it's really important as a new streamer. I mean, there's a few things that are kind of staples that I like, my affirmations, that I try to remind myself, even when I'm feeling a little vulnerable or questioning myself. And one of them is just to always try my best. As long as I'm showing up and doing my best, even if I'm having an off day, if I'm still just trying my best and I can say I tried my best, then that is definitely success to me. Mm-hmm. And it's also really, really important to try to not compare yourself to others and compare your metrics to others, your chat quality to others, what kind of people are there and how quickly your chat's moving and the numbers and everything, or your sound or your talent, because, it's really hard not to get lost in the sauce when you see that other people are doing a certain thing. And when you're new and starting out, I do see a lot of questions that pop up, like, hey, what do people prefer? Or what would be a better approach? And, you see that people are trying to sort of find this, it's not like a cake batter, you know what I mean? Where you need to have a certain amount of baking soda or you need this or that, it's really one of those things where you just have to cultivate it naturally by being you and And I also think that it's super, super important that whatever you're doing, make sure that you're enjoying it and having fun. You know, maybe you'll have 5 or 10 more viewers if you sing, you know, some song, some certain pop song or whatever. But maybe you won't. And honestly, when you're singing something that you're really, really into and jazzed up about, it feels better for you. And in my approach, when I've followed that mentality, when I've followed my heart that way, my numbers just go up, you know, and it doesn't have to be because of requests. It's because that energy really does come through when you're in the zone, doing what you love, doing what inspires you. You're going to end the stream feeling like you got what you needed to get accomplished because you're not, you know, you're not a monkey that's just playing requests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a human being and you're an artist, you're a musician, and there's certain things that you do need to get out. It's an expression, you know? And at the same time, I think that a lot of people can really see that come through. And that's what makes it interesting. Like you just have to cultivate the best version of you. And it's okay. I'm not saying that it's not okay to see what other folks are doing and see certain things that might work for them, you know, and emulate you know, tools and approaches and learn from them and make it your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Borrow like an artist, or steal like an artist, or whatever the phrase is. But I think it's important, like, to remember that above all, like, you have to try to be the best version of you.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. That's great.
2 things. I want corn and cake now.
We'll have some corn cake or something when we're at the retreat in January.
Right.
For sure.
Oh yeah, that cornbread casserole that you make on
like
Thanksgiving. I didn't make that this year.
Make it in a skillet. It's so good.
Oh, now we cooking, boys.
Yeah. Dan, did we have any like user or viewer questions or anything come through for Rhiow this week?
We did, but we already kind of went through them with all the bot talk.
Oh, gotcha.
That makes sense.
Oh, people were curious about the bot and the beard.
Oh, there was one. I know there was one question that hadn't been asked yet.
What was that?
When is it going to be available on Mac?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, you know what? I gave up hope, Rhiow. I gave up hope on that, and then I just went and bought a window. And then I just went and bought a Windows-based system.
I've actually seen a couple of people do that, and that's unbelievable to me. I was like, well, I've got this backup Windows machine so that I can run the bot. Wait, you do? Oh my goodness. Wow, that's cool.
You should sell PCs, Rhiow. That's
Well, it's a really useful tool. It wasn't the only reason, you know, that I switched over, but it was a huge advantage. And I will say that I've tried the other stuff that's out there, you know, loyalty point based systems and redemptions, and I'm still tweaking how I take requests. And since I don't take them every day, it's kind of easy for my channel for me to be like, okay, today you got to do this, and it's this way, you know. But I have found, honestly, your bot to be the simplest, most streamlined, most like minimalistic kind of, you know, it's just easy. You know what I mean? And the way that the list pops up is just, it's easy, small window. I love the features that you have on it, that if it's a song somebody's pushed through as a suggestion that I want to remember that I save later, oh, you can save it and it puts it in a text document and I can go back and look at that later. I don't have to be keeping my own Google document or adding things to YouTube lists right now. I can just click save. If I need to look up the tabs really quick for something, I click the search button and it pops it up automatically. There's the most popular, you know, there it is. There's the tabs for that, or the chords for that. Like, I really think that, you know, the features that you put into it, they're really, like you said that you felt it was kind of like, you know, minimalistic sort of. I feel like it's simple in the best way, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like it's simple and usable and just easy peasy pumpkin pie. I love it.
I definitely want it to stay that way, even if I do get back to actively working on it, which I intend to, but I've been saying that for a very long time now, so we'll see. But no, I do. And I like that about it. Like there's other options out there, and if the other options work for you, that's great. Like I want the streamers to have all the tools that they need or that they could ever want available to them, and to be able to have a choice. And if you decide for your stream my bot's not the right one, that's awesome. As long as there's something else out there that'll help you. But cool. But yeah.
Well, Rhiow, as you can imagine, especially with there being so many music streamers and people that we want to connect with through the podcast, and there's only so many weeks in the year, it's going to take a while. We're trying to figure out like who's next and who's next and who's next. And of course, we've been talking about who we want to try to have on the show soon. But I'm just curious, who's somebody as a community member and another streamer who are maybe a couple of people that you hope we can get to sooner rather than later? Like, who are some folks you'd love for us to interview?
Well, I think I heard you guys mention. I heard somebody mention Shannon in a conversation somewhere. Mm-hmm. She was the first person to. I don't know if she was the very first person to stream music, but she was streaming music before music was a category. Yeah. So if you want,
I heard she got banned a couple times for that too. And
yeah, because people are jerks and like you're not playing League of Legends right now. No gaming on Twitch only.
Yeah.
Back before there was like the option to choose a different.
Yeah, there was no music category, and there are some people that would play League of Legends and play a song or two here or there between games. On Shanna's YouTube page, you can find some songs of hers, some really old songs of hers, where there's the League background.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, so she would be the first person that comes to mind. A couple streams. Is probably definitely an obvious one, and not just because they succeeded so well, but to me they were one of the first people to come to Twitch and not really. I'm sure they looked at what everyone else did, but they seem to have innovation down really, really well. They figure stuff out, and they're willing to change everything they do. As far as their presentation, as far as how they take song requests, whether they're going to learn songs or not, they've innovated and been willing to just change up everything just to try new ideas in a way that a lot of people haven't. LT Chicken, of course, and again, not just because of the music, but because he's transitioned some into production, so he has a lot of different.
That'd be interesting.
Experiences there where he plays covers, he plays some originals, he also does production streams, and so he's done a lot of different things. Those are probably the top ones that come to my mind.
Cool, man.
Well, if you can nudge Shanna for us, because I emailed her. I know she's a very busy lady though.
Yeah.
But hey, Shanna, we want to bring you on the show. There's a demand. See, there's a demand. The people have spoken.
Yeah, she had her 4-year Twitchversary stream on Thursday. So,
wow.
I think prepping for that may be one of the reasons you might not have heard back from her yet.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to send her a message about something else as well. So I'll do that.
Definitely nudge her. We would love to hear from her and hear about what it was like back in the day before there was a category. And speaking of that, you have also kind of witnessed all these changes as well. Could you quickly summarize like where you feel like music is at right now, and what any observations, and what do you think could be improved on Twitch as a platform to better support music in general?
Man, what could be improved is so difficult. I mean, it's very easy to sit back and say, Twitch doesn't know we're here. Twitch doesn't notice. But it's the platform is 98% gamers. So what do we like? We're getting front page time now a little better than we used to. And there's some Reddit exposure. I do feel like most of it is the music community is making it happen ourselves. Mm-hmm. I think TwitchCon could be done a lot better. I think
do you want to expand on that?
Better. Yeah, I sure do. 2 years ago at TwitchCon, 2016, we had like 7 or 8 music streamers, and MacArthur Lloyd found a stairwell where we might have some decent acoustics where we could play. Nobody could hear us. We tweeted out some stuff. We did everything we could to get people there, and we had 20 or 30 people there that were mostly tied to streamers already. But we took videos of it. There's a ton of video from that on my YouTube channel that you can see what we did 2 years ago with a very small number of people. This year it was really awesome, where we had the jam sessions out in front of the main theater, and people could see us. But other than the talent show, there's nothing officially supported by Twitch for the music community. I know that there were different proposals made to just have a room on a schedule, not on a schedule, whatever, just a room available that's a designated music room for people to just jam. And I know that there were people involved in creative and music that were very excited and encouraging of music streamers to put in those proposals for just a place where we could have music the entire TwitchCon. And then they all got rejected, and there was nothing more this year than there was last year. Other than we made it happen ourselves. There was the Tiltify concert, and props to Tiltify. Because last year the Tiltify stage was 15 feet long, and there were seats for 20 people. So props to Tiltify for making sure that the concert went off and that it went off well. Last year, a gaming event cut into the music, and all there were only 3 performers, and all 3 of them were forced to cut half their sets. Oh my goodness! And it was really frustrating. So props to Tiltify for making the concert the ending of the event and having it go off really well. It was great. It was really wonderful. But the talent show happened at the same time. The only 2 things that were focused, that had any sort of music focus, were happening at the same time. So all of us that care about all these music streamers had to pick and choose. Well, do we want to watch 88-bit and Do a Barrel Roll and Resurrection Fern and all those people, or do we want to watch That Violin Chick or Felicity or Raquel Lilly and the ones that were on the talent show? We can't do both. Yeah, I know. I would have loved to see AO Arms and Felicity. Absolutely. I would have loved to see That Violin Chick, Ash, or Finn. There was so much music represented, but I was doing the Tiltify stage, so I couldn't go over there either. That kind of. But you're right. Tiltify did do such a great job, and I did have a chance to catch up with Michael, their CEO, and he is a musician himself. Awesome. And yeah, he plays guitar, and he has a lot of passion for music, and he actually related to me that the last TwitchCon, they caused a fire hazard, technically, because they didn't have enough space for people to even, gather for the music. He said this year, he said he really went up to bat to make sure that they could get that nice big lounge area. You saw those bean bags and benches. It was great. It was really nice. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And that was really coming from him realizing, of course, music is that thing that brings everybody together, and he saw how much potential there was last year, and he really wanted to incorporate that this year. So seriously, and major props to that. But there's still more that they can do. Everything that happened at TwitchCon outside of the Tiltify event that is special to me, that is memorable to me, we made happen ourselves. Yes, and we mostly made happen ourselves away from the venue, away from the TwitchCon venue, away from the convention center, and that's, our community is awesome, so that's great. But I feel like Twitch could, without too much investment and effort, provide us with a little bit more and a little bit more exposure than just the talent show and just accepting what Tiltify wants to do. Yeah. And I feel as though part of that responsibility, we could be a little more proactive. Something that Sam Zeldin, who is another musician and a music streamer, brought up to me during TwitchCon was that, if we presented a plan, if we organized ensembles and, presented a plan to Twitch ahead of time and said, hey, we've got X amount of, hours of original music or music that we've already prepared and taken care of licensing for, or, whatever. If we had that organization and kind of made it happen and went to Twitch with a plan and said, hey, look,
we can offer this year. Can you work this in? Then Twitch wouldn't have to worry about things like, okay, is the music going to be loud and distracting? Yeah. Well, or are we going to have to pay for licensing rights? Or how are we going to, among the other billions of things that we have to worry about with the Expo Center and the other things and the parties, how are we going to also worry about these musicians? You know, I feel like maybe the community this year has to be proactive about presenting our own things instead of just bringing them ideas and being good idea fairies like, hey, give us a cafe. Well, they have to take into account too that there might be some licensing issues. You know, there might be, I don't really particularly know, but there are people like Mike TV Live who, you know, and other folks who know a little bit more about that kind of stuff. And, you know, we could definitely, there's a lot of potential there, but I feel like if this coming up TwitchCon, if we could present them with a plan, you know, and say, hey, we've got a cello duo or a string quartet that's willing to do gaming music for this. You know, we've got you know, this world-class piano player who's willing to do this. We've got X number of singer-songwriters who have X number of original things and blah, blah, blah. You know, I feel as though that would kind of prop us up a little bit better for a yes, or at least a real consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there were proposals that went through the proper and official channels for music stuff, but I think you're definitely right. We could, and we have more stuff in place now than we did back then. That music Discord is a lot more powerful now than it was earlier in the year, and we can do a lot more through it. So we can probably organize something a lot better next year.
Yeah, I think we will. I think the way everybody came together from this TwitchCon, and the exclamation point of the party that we had at Trevor's house, at 88-Bit Music's house, catalyzed a really strong core group of people who are determined that we want to work together to make sure that the overall community grows. So I think we will. Steph, I think you're right. I think we need to be able to do that, and I think we'll see that happen before next year to be able to lay out some things. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think so too.
And from what I understand, performance licenses aren't the most expensive things in the world.
Yeah.
Depends where you are.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be different when you're
maybe because it's being broadcast worldwide, but you know, having something at the convention for people, even if it's not broadcast on a channel, is still a step up
for sure.
So,
and TwitchCon is still new in a sense as far as cons go.
Yeah,
and each year it gets bigger and bigger. So, like for example, Guardian Con, like I'm a big Destiny nerd, but that started off in a bar. You know, they just said, all right, we're going to meet up, and 1,000 people showed up. And then the next year, you know, 3,000 people showed up. And this past year, 6,000. You know, it's like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Same thing I'm seeing with TwitchCon and the amount of effort that has to go into planning a yearly event like that. It's a lot. And I don't know how many people they have dedicated to it, but for sure, if we could do some work on our end to make their jobs a little easier as far as coming up with ideas or planning, that would go a long way.
Yep. Cool.
Rhiow, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I had so many questions that you answered, and it's awesome. But
what we got coming up next week, Dan?
Yeah, I was going to say next week we got to bring in some more chairs here in our studio. We got the Eaglesons coming on. All of the Eaglesons, I believe.
All three? All at one time?
I believe so.
Well, there's a fourth, but he is a little bit younger. So Mama Eagleson, but apparently he's also a talented Eagleson, but he's a fledgling.
Of course he's a talented
Mama
Eagleson.
What did you say?
I said, of course he's a talented Eagleson.
I know. They joke that it's something in the water, apparently, something over there in Ohio. But yeah, they have a little brother too, I believe.
That's awesome.
But for now, we just get Chase, Sierra, and Megan.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I met them at TwitchCon, and they are just the most polite, respectable, talented family that I've ever met, I think.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really exciting. But yeah.
So send your questions for the Eagleson trio, for Chase, Megan, Sierra. It could be for the whole group. It could be for one of them individually. Make sure to send those to us through Twitter. So we'll have your viewer questions. You're not viewers, you're listeners, I guess, right? listener questions.
I mean, you could be staring at your phone.
Probably not seeing much, but hey.
Yeah. Rhiow, where can we find you? Where can people check out your stream and all that?
Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Rhiow2, RHIOW2. And everything else really comes off of that. I kind of need to rebrand my Twitter because it kind of uses my real name instead. So maybe I should work on that.
How about you, Doc?
Doc Bizzle, DOC_BIZZLE. That's me on Twitter and on Twitch. And on Instagram now, I'm sharing silly pictures and family pictures and stuff. So feel free to follow me there.
I love your little memes that you've got going on there, Doc. I've been enjoying your Instagram feed personally.
Thank you. It's a view into the silliness. I'm not just silly on stream. I really am silly all the stinking time. So it's a good view.
Well, I like that family picture too. It was nice to see your family as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, blessed man for sure.
So for me, you can find me at Random Girl Singing, all one word, on Twitch and on YouTube. On Twitter and Instagram, I am RGSLUL, RGSLOL. And I also did want to add a side note that if you're interested in RioMusicBot or getting in touch with Rhiow, you should also check out twitchmusic.net. That is sort of a landing spot for song cues for folks who use it. And I believe, Rhiow, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a little bit of information about how the bot works on there as well.
There's a little bit. There's some starter tips and things like that, and an email address that you can reach me at. Although a whisper on Twitch is fine. If I share a Discord with you anywhere, a message on Discord is also great.
Yeah, so if you're interested in using his song request bot, definitely hit up twitchmusic.net. And I also believe if you probably heard us talk a lot about the music Discord, if you are a music streamer on Twitch and you have not somehow word of mouth received an invitation to the Twitch Music Discord, please give us an email at, you might have to remind them of the Gmail account, Dan, because you set it up, but please do get in touch with us there and we'll make sure that we get you set up. It's a great place to network with other musicians, learn a little bit more about the technical aspects to get started streaming, collaborate on charity projects, and there's also threads for particular instruments and interests. Just a really great meeting of minds there for musicians specifically streaming on Twitch.
For sure. Yeah.
How do we find you, Dan? How do we find the Drumstone?
Pretty much everything at Dan Drumstone, Twitch and Twitter. I don't remember my Instagram password. I am like,
you're not going to share your password with us?
My mom and sister are like, you're not on Facebook anymore. And I'm like, I don't remember my passwords. But I really do like Twitter and all that stuff. But the Music Community Podcast, we're just at the Music Compod, or just type in the Music Community Podcast on Twitter and you'll find us. And that's the best way to get in touch with us. We do have an email, which is on the Twitter. It's the Music Community Podcast at gmail.com. I know it's long, but other things were taken. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. It really does mean the world. But yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.